I feel like as a society, we wait for things to get really bad so then we could try to fix them. I mean, if anything, the pandemic is just proof of that.
I think if you asked me to kind of choose between the two, I would have to still choose the climate crisis as the one that I'm most concerned about.
I'd have to say right now, it would be COVID.
I am most concerned about climate change.
I would 100% hands down choose climate change.
I think it really boils down to 2 points in my mind. First is global solidarity. So when I think about COVID-19 versus the climate crisis, a lot of countries have rallied around kind of efforts to hinder the spread of COVID-19. We've had a lot of borders shut down. We've had a lot of communities practice social distancing, albeit we haven't done as good as we could. But there's pretty much a global recognized need for us to kind of shut down a lot of movement and contact in order for us to kind of combat this crisis. When we look at the climate crisis, unfortunately our global solidarity isn't quite where it needs to be. We have a number of countries, including our own, who don't care or don't want to participate in kind of the reduction of carbon emissions or finding alternative sources of energy. We have a lot of countries who either are growing in their economies or need to make investments in kind of other capital sources that aren't as renewable or as sustainable. And so they just don't care to participate kind of in this global movement. And so I think for that reason, I feel more confident about our ability to combat COVID-19.
Just because it's just something I haven't been able to take a break from, even if I wanted to, whether it's the media on a global or local scale, or just everyday conversations with family and friends. Just talking to friends and family or reading the news, you're hearing about all these other people that are just so negatively affected by it, whether it's job security or paying rent or just providing for your children and keeping your family safe. And I think it's a sad reality because I know climate change also has all those same factors and elements and affects each and every one of us personally. I just think right now it is COVID.
Obviously, the pandemic we're going through right now is freaking surreal. I never in my life thought I was gonna live through something like this, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who feels that way. But as crappy as times have been lately and as slow as the progress has been, it does feel like we're gonna be able to find a resolution for it eventually, however long it may take, and we're gonna be able to come back from this.
The second thing that I'm keeping in mind is kind of the immediacy of effects. So unfortunately with COVID-19, we know in 14 days whether someone has the virus, and we've already seen quite a lot of deaths, both here in the United States and worldwide. And so while we still have some skeptics of the disease, people are dying today, and it's easy for us to point to it and say they are dying because of COVID-19. Now, the argument could be made that a lot of lives are changing already because of the climate crisis. We have a lot of refugees from water scarcity. A lot of people have had to move due to rising sea levels. But for some reason, we've had a more difficult time pinning the root causes of these efforts on climate change. So I think it's become a lot more difficult to convince people that the issue is now and the dangers that we're facing are more near term than people can imagine.
I believe that COVID-19 is actually a result of climate change. I think that everything here on Earth is interwoven, interconnected, and we all receive our energy and life from the sun. As the Earth continues to warm in a very abnormal way, I think that we'll continue to see abnormalities with every living thing on Earth, including bacteria and viruses.
Climate change, I don't feel like that. I feel like we don't talk about it enough. We brush it under the rug. We don't get educated enough on it, and we don't find valid ways that we could try and fix it. And I feel like as a society, we wait for things to get really bad so then we could try to fix them. I mean, if anything, the pandemic is just proof of that. We could have obviously taken steps way earlier to try to prevent what happened, but it just feels like with the COVID-19, we're gonna find a resolution. We're gonna come back from it. But I feel like the damage that climate change will cause if we don't make a change is something we're not going to be able to come back from, and I think that's the scariest part.